Welcome to an introduction of chainsaw safety. In this video, we will go over various aspects of chainsaw safety with the intent of giving the chainsaw user a better understanding of the procedures and protocols that will help elevate his or her safety and efficiency in regards to using a chainsaw. We will discuss proper daily inspection of personal protective equipment to help determine when an article has reached a point where it may need to be retired and replaced. We will talk about chainsaw inspection and maintenance to help determine if the saw is safe to use, and how to keep the chainsaw in top working order to perform the work it is intended for. Also, we will go over the various aspects of chainsaw use, such as proper chain brake engagement and disengagement, accepted methods of starting the machine, good worksite habits, and other strategies that will allow you to perform your duties safely. With that said, we will start with the most fundamentally important thing to do to help increase safe and effective chainsaw handling. This also applies to any other tool or piece of equipment you may need to use to perform your duties. The first step in the safe use of a chainsaw is to read and understand the operator's manual that comes with your saw. This manual will cover general safety precautions such as kickback, chain tension, fuel handling, and various other aspects of safe use and critical maintenance requirements, working techniques such as basic safety rules, cutting techniques, and how to avoid kickback, maintenance such as bar care, starter cord replacement, and oil pump adjustment, as well as other important information in the proper upkeep of your saw. There is also a technical section where you can find specifications about various systems of the saw that may be useful when replacing parts or making repairs. Inspection of the personal protective equipment required for chainsaw use is the next step to help increase the safety in using a chainsaw. PPE includes chaps, hard hat, ear protection, eye protection, gloves, sturdy work boots, and the right attitude. When inspecting the helmet, we will be looking for any cracks or dents and any discoloration in the shell that would indicate UV damage that may have reduced the strength of the shell material. We will also be looking at the interface between the earmuffs and the shell for cracks where they come together. The cracks shown here would indicate that this helmet would need to be retired. When looking at the earmuffs themselves, we want to ensure that the foam is pliable and rebounds to its original form after compressing. Also, we want to make sure it is clean and free of dirt and debris. When looking at the suspension system, we want to ensure that all the attachment points are secure and not cracked at the interface. We also want to make sure that the headband is in good repair and not damaged in any way. The webbing material needs to be free of tears or damage as well. While inspecting the chaps, we are looking for any damage that exposes the internal ballistic material on the front side of the chaps. If any amount of ballistic material is exposed, the chaps are no longer viable and must be rendered unusable. We are also inspecting all of the stitching, clips, and other components to ensure they are in place and in working order. The ballistic material is composed of long strands of nylon or other synthetic materials that are designed to be pulled into the sprocket of the saw, causing it to become clogged, and quickly stopping the chain from moving if contact occurs. By wearing chaps, the amount of injury to the legs is avoided or greatly reduced during an accidental contact. Without chaps, injuries can be very severe and life-changing or can cause the demise of the individual. Daily inspection of the saw is required for the safety of the user and to help ensure that the saw is in good working order to carry out the duties for the day in a safe and efficient manner. The saw should be clean and free of excess bar oil and debris so that all the parts and systems can easily be inspected for damage, proper function, and to ensure that all the parts are connected properly. We will inspect the body of the saw to identify any damage caused by previous use. We will be looking for cracks or discoloration in the plastic shell and making sure that all of the parts are in place, connected properly, and are secure. We will be looking for any fuel or bar oil leaks around their respective caps. We will also be engaging and disengaging the braking system several times to ensure it is functioning properly. The throttle lockout is designed to prevent accidental operation of the throttle. When you release the handle, the throttle lockout engages and ensures that the throttle is locked at the idle speed. This system must be inspected and functional prior to use. Prior to removing the engine cover, engage the choke to prevent debris from entering the carburetor. After you remove the cover, you will inspect several components for damage and wear. You will inspect the spark plug for damage and ensure the cable is connected properly. You will make sure that any wiring is not damaged and is connected securely. There should be no visible fuel leaks from the fuel lines and connections. Remove the air filter and inspect for damage. Compressed air may be used to remove dirt and debris. If the air filter needs a more thorough cleaning, wash in warm soapy water and rinse well. Ensure that the filter is completely dry before using. If any of these components or systems do not pass inspection, they must be repaired before use. Before inspecting the starter cord, press the decompression button. Slowly pull the starter cord out and inspect for fraying or other damage that may cause it to break during use. Also, check that the handle is securely attached to the cord. Before removing the clutch cover, make sure that the chain brake has been disengaged. It is possible to remove the clutch cover while the brake is set, but with most saws it will take one really smart person or two strong people to disengage the brake when the cover is not on the saw. This is the second time that the two pictures of the proper and improper way of holding the front handle have been shown. The reason for this will become evident later in the video and is related to one of the most important aspects of safe chainsaw use. Once the clutch cover is removed, you will inspect for cracks and other damage to the cover. You will also inspect the chain tensioning system to ensure it is in good repair, as well as making sure the chain brake band is not damaged or bent and is in place. The next step is to remove the chain and bar to enable inspection of the clutch area. There are several items we will be looking for here for damage and wear. Inspect the chain catcher for damage. The component is made of either plastic or aluminum to take the brunt of the damage in the event a chain comes off the bar. The catcher will stop the chain from rotating almost immediately once the chain has derailed. The muffler should be firmly attached to the saw, and the muffler screen should be free of debris and excess carbon buildup. The vibration damping system is designed to help reduce fatigue and wear and tear on the user. Ensure the front handle and all attachment points are not damaged and are secure. Make sure the clutch rotates freely and is not loose. Inspect the drive sprocket for damage and excessive wear. Inspect all other components in this area for damage and ensure all parts are attached properly. Burrs on the bar are a normal result of running a chain around a bar at 600 rounds per minute. Whenever a bar is removed from a saw, the user should check for burrs and remove them properly with a flat file. Set a file down on the bar and properly orientate the file teeth to remove the burr. Apply downward pressure on the file with 2 fingers and push the file forward. Release the pressure and slide the file back and repeat until the burr is gone. Never hold the file as shown and try to remove the burr. You will only succeed in damaging the bar and shortening the life of the chain, as well as potentially creating a safety issue for the user. When reinstalling the bar and chain on the saw head, make sure to flip the bar to help increase its longevity. When removing the bar, it is helpful to say out loud the orientation of the writing on the bar. When you go to reinstall, you will automatically remember if you set up or down. In this case, I set up, so the writing will be down when reinstalled. Also, it is important to note that no matter how many times you have put a bar and chain on a saw, It is inevitable that it will occasionally be a pain in the neck, or like my grandpa used to say. Well, never mind what my grandpa used to say. When you finally have the bar and chain in place, align the post of the adjustment screw on the clutch cover and the appropriate hole in the bar, and hand tighten the nuts so the clutch cover is tight against the bar, but loose enough to allow adjustment of the tension screw. Adjust the chain so that when you pull the chain away from the bar, it snaps into place. Securely tighten the nuts, but do not over-torque them to avoid cracking the clutch cover. The chain is tensioned correctly when it does not sag at the underside and can still be turned easily by hand. So far, we have touched on the PPE to be worn during chainsaw use and have learned how to properly inspect the helmet as well as the chaps. We have also gone over the various systems of the saw and how to inspect the various parts of these systems for damage and wear. It is important for the user to develop good inspection and cleaning habits with the chainsaw that will help minimize the hazards in the use of this tool. Daily inspection and cleaning of the saw will also help the sawyer to become familiar with the equipment, which will make it much easier to identify problems well before they become a serious issue. By developing good inspection and cleanliness habits, the saw can be relied upon for its intended purpose and help maintain an efficient and safe working environment. The saw should be cleaned at the end of each shift with compressed air or other methods. This will give the user the opportunity to inspect the saw for damage that may have occurred during use and ready the saw for the next work period. Anytime the clutch cover is removed, this area should be inspected as described, and the bar should be inspected for burrs and the burrs removed as needed. Remember to disengage the chain brake before removing the clutch cover, as well as flipping the bar before reinstalling. If the saw is going to be stored for any length of time, the fuel should be removed from the saw or a fuel stabilizer used. There are also pre-mixed fuels with stabilizers added that will ensure that the proper mix is used and help increase the longevity of the saw. Alternatives to traditional petroleum-based bar oils can be used, such as vegetable-based products made by the saw builder, or readily available canola oil, which is what we have been using in urban forestry for many years now. Next, we will touch base on proper chain brake use and other safety requirements for using a chainsaw. Proper engagement of the chain brake is critical for the safety of the user. The thumb of the left hand needs to be wrapped around the handle while disengaging and engaging the brake as shown. The chain brake needs to be engaged when the saw is being started and when the user is making more than 2 steps while using the chainsaw. This will increase the safety for the user by not allowing the chain to move around the bar even if the throttle is unintentionally triggered. Improper engagement of the chain brake as shown increases the likelihood of the left hand or leg coming into contact with a moving chain. A chainsaw chain does not cut flesh but rather rips and tears it, which is why the average amount of stitches for a chainsaw injury is 110 individual stitches. In this example, the thumb is not wrapped around the front handle. The user can easily lose their grip, drastically increasing the likelihood of injury to multiple body parts. Remember, keep the left thumb wrapped around the front handle at all times. Removing the right hand from the saw to disengage the brake is not appropriate and increases the likelihood of injury to this limb. Keeping the thumb wrapped around the front handle, grab the brake with the remaining fingers and disengage the brake. Rotating the left wrist forward as shown will engage the chain brake. The saw can be rested on the left thigh to aid in performing these motions. With practice, engaging and disengaging the brake will become second nature and drastically reduce the likelihood of serious injury to the user. To start the chainsaw, the right foot can be placed at the base of the rear handle and the starter cord pulled as shown. Make sure the chain brake is on and the decompression button is pushed. Another method is to place the rear handle between the thighs and pull the starter cord as demonstrated. This is the preferred method for most people and is a very safe way to start the saw. Notice how the chain brake is properly disengaged after the saw is running. Drop starting a chainsaw is not an appropriate or safe way to start a saw. This method should never be used since injury can occur to the back, hands and arms, as well as feet and legs of the user. The likelihood of damage to the starting system, as well as other parts of the saw, is increased. When using a chainsaw in the field, there are a few important rules to follow. There must be at least one other worker on site at all times assisting the sawyer. The assistant will help remove branches and debris, watch for hazards that the sawyer may not see, such as unauthorized people entering the work area, and in case of an accident, be able to act quickly, which may be the difference between life and death. Only one person should be using a saw on a down tree at a time. Before making a cut that may destabilize the tree, make sure that all workers are aware and clear of the danger. The chain brake must be engaged before taking more than 2 steps and should also be engaged at all times the saw is not in use. Notice in the next few clips how natural the engagement and disengagement of the brake appears for the sawyer. When moving around the work site, the saw must be held so the bar is pointed to the rear of the sawyer. Another good habit to develop is keeping your work area cleaned of branches and debris. This will make your work much safer and easier to perform by eliminating tripping hazards and allowing your feet to be firmly planted on the ground. It will also help reduce the likelihood of kickback occurring by eliminating limbs or tree parts that may come in contact with the tip of the saw. If the tree shifts during the dismantling process, you will also have a clear escape route. Take the time to evaluate the situation prior to making a cut. During the cut, the tree may shift and you will need to change your approach and/or position. You may also need to step back and reevaluate how the tree is responding to your work, and make a new plan of attack if needed. It is important to take your time and make sound decisions while using a chainsaw. The result of slow and steady are increased work efficiency and increased safety. By rushing through a project, you will only succeed in increasing the likelihood of injury and reduce the efficiency of your work. You will also unnecessarily increase the wear and tear on your body and the equipment you are using. Remember to engage the chain brake whenever the saw is not being used or when making more than 2 steps. Never use the saw above shoulder height, and make sure to move away from the part being removed as it separates. In this example, the sawyer is making several shallow cuts to relieve the compression in the limb caused by the weight of the log above. The work area is nice and clean, and all tripping hazards have been eliminated, allowing for easy escape if needed. Notice how his 2 hands are firmly holding the handles of the saw, and his feet are firmly planted on the ground. Also notice how he is using his right leg to support and stabilize his right arm and the weight of the saw. This stance for this cut is very ergonomic and affords the sawyer increased stability and control of the saw and situation. These are all good habits that are developed through education, repetition, and experience. Once the compression on the limb is relieved, the final cut can be made to separate the limb from the log. Once again, notice the clean work area, allowing the sawyer to perform the cut without impedance. As the log shifts, notice how he adjusts his position during the cut for stability, as well as positioning himself to quickly move away from the log if needed. Hopefully the information in this video will help you become a safer and more efficient chainsaw user. Inspection of your PPE and chainsaw is paramount to your safety and well-being, and should be carried out with the utmost attention to detail to help reduce any unnecessary injury to you or damage to the equipment. Making sound decisions about where to position yourself during a cut to prevent being pinned between a log and a tree, for example, will help prevent serious injuries from occurring. Using a proper safe starting method for the saw will also decrease the wear and tear on you and increase the longevity of the equipment. As stated, there must always be another worker on site to assist the sawyer in the work, as well as making sure someone is there to give assistance in the event of an accident. The work area should be clean and an escape route created so that the sawyer can move away from this area without impedance. All your PPE must be in good repair and inspected daily for damage. Immediately retire and replace any damaged PPE. Remember, the thumb must always be wrapped around the front handle while engaging or disengaging the chain brake. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and remember, safety first.
$135 years old.